Mario Strikers Battle League is a game that feels much more arcade than simulation. There's no doubt in my mind that this Mario-themed sports ball game has been designed for pick-up-and-play audiences. This is solid and has easy-to-learn controls so that both your young nephew and your elderly grandmother find them as accessible as possible. Strikers Battle League gives you a roster of 10 Mario favourites and tasks you with putting a team of 4 together to play a sport that most closely resembles football. As this is a Mario game, you also have the ability to throw items at your enemies to disrupt them, and you can slam your opponents into the arena like you're watching the greatest hits reel at the end of an NHL season. The rules are loose at best, and the important thing here is just to get the ball into the net. How is entirely subjective. The previous Strikers game on the Wii used motion controls for some big flashy anime shots, and here they've replaced that game's 6 goal flurries with a Hyper Strike, which involves collecting and protecting an orb, which allows one character to perform a special shot, which counts for 2 goals if it goes in. In terms of keeping games close and fair, this does allow for a quick catch-up or a lead-extending strike without feeling like your opponent can destroy an overwhelming lead with one lucky move. Refugees from other sports games are likely to come into this and feel like it's fairly bare bones as a sports game, and while it's certainly not attempting to fit into the sports genre, I found it bare bones on the grounds of just being a game. While there are RPG customization elements that allow you to improve stats like speed, strength, and shooting on individual characters, these always come with an equalizer. Something that increases one stat will only do so by 2, and in return reduce another by the same amount. All this achieves is to let you pick the character you want aesthetically without being forced to play with their default stat spread. Each piece of gear that you can use to do this can be unlocked very quickly, and they do make noticeable visual changes to the characters, but in terms of actual gameplay, they're no means essential to your progress or victory. This is where the game starts to show it belongs as part of the Switch's party catalogue and nowhere else, as its fundamental backbone is like every other Mario Party game. Fairness and fun is placed above any form of consistent progression. This game's single-player modes are laughably bare, and there's no campaign to speak of. I wasn't expecting some 40-hour epic, but maybe a generic something that forces us to buy into the premise. I don't think it would have been that hard to come up with a storyboard along the lines of Princess Peach has been captured by interdimensional soccer tyrants and is now the grand prize for a Battle League tournament. Winning each cup to qualify for the big leagues could have then unlocked new characters and strikers for your team, so that you get that feeling of progression. And then when you actually free Peach, you unlock her as a playable character. Instead, you get all 10 from the start, and as far as I can tell, you can't unlock any more. I do think this game's flagship mode was supposed to be the Strikers Club, but this had a timer on it when I wanted to play, and it told me to come back later. And sadly, there's not enough here to keep this game relevant to me until that timer reaches 0 and this unlocks. If you're looking to pick this up down the line, this mode is likely to be available to you, but do note that it does require an active Nintendo Online subscription. A strong plus here, however, is that while true couch co-op is dying out slowly, Nintendo are one of the last holdouts, and I appreciate them including the ability to have 8-player modes in the game, even if I can't envision a time when I'd have 7 other people in my living room. Another thing that I found quite strange is that you're unable to skip the wind-up animation for the Hyper Strikes, even for perfect ones that don't offer the opposing team a chance to do anything but watch the ball go in the net. By the end of the training match, I'd seen Mario's 3 times and was bored of it. A cup and a half later, I just wanted my 2 goals and a chance to get on with the game, not to lose 8 seconds of my life to this animation. No doubt these are designed to impress and amaze, but as mentioned above, there are only 10 of these, 1 per character, in the launch state of the game. You could have seen them all by the end of your first cup. Another note about cups is that they feature a second chance system, which gives every team a free loss. As you can see here, I end up playing the team I beat in the first round in the cup's final. Whether this is a result of the low character count or Nintendo handholding, I don't quite know. Cup competitions are designed to be knockout tournaments where the loser goes home, and getting a free loss undermines the value of each individual cup game. Now I have a bit of an unusual point to make, so bear with me. 21 years ago, there was a game released that had an entirely made-up sports ball tournament. This had knockout tournaments, a league, exhibition matches, and featured an RPG stat system that was superior to the one here. That game was Blitzball, a mini-game within Final Fantasy X. Not a full-blown game in its own right, a mini-game. Is this really where a first-party Nintendo Switch game should be in 2022? Graphics aside, this game is just lacking even compared to a game that was put out 20 years ago. Call me a hopeless streamer, but this should be bursting with modes, unlockables, characters, choices for stadiums, gear and outfits. In spite of all that, one thing I can't argue with is that Mario Strikers Battle League is another solid example of Nintendo polish. I just can't imagine myself playing it for more than 5 to 10 hours. A lot of what is here feels like it exists in a bit of a creativity vacuum. The amount of content in general is just disappointing. This is, by design, a pick-up-and-play arcade game that's the right blend of accessible and fun, and is definitely more casual gamer-oriented than your average game. But I reject the notion that that should excuse its lack of depth and progression mechanics outside of the online multiplayer ranking system. Perhaps intentional and likely by design, this is essentially the same experience as Mario Kart and Mario Party. It follows the same formula so closely that I don't think it's even remotely possible for this game to fail, regardless of what opinions I or anyone else has. If you're not intending to play this online or with friends in couch co-op, I'd consider this a hard pass. There's not enough content here that can keep a player engaged with this without using other human opponents as a crutch, and were it not free of microtransactions, this could have been teetering on the edge of being a below average cash grab.